Hey, happy Tuesday, everyone. Just doing another comic book market report for the week of May 21st, 2024. I'm hoping you guys are liking all these market reports. I'm in doing them more actively every like once a week, try and do Monday or Tuesday, just whenever I have time. But I hope you guys all like these reports. And it seems like it seems like the market is or the YouTube viewership is digging these reports. So I'll keep doing them until you guys say I'm an idiot and you don't need it to do it anymore. But until then, please like, subscribe, tell all your friends. I may do some giveaways on these market reports depending on how many viewers we get or how many hours are viewed on each one. But yeah, just a sample size of some newer books, sample size of some older books, and a sample size of just some books that may have fallen from grace. I just wanted to see if there's still a market for any some of the books on this channel, and if you are interested in selling them or just kind of had a curiosity of like wanting to buy and what have you. These are the most recent kind of sales I've seen for these, and we'll take a look on eBay as well to see what they're going for. So, without further ado, let's get into the slides. All right. So it's been, same old, nothing too crazy going on with the option market, with any new shows coming out. Deadpool, I feel, is, everyone's just kind of waiting to get their hands on any Deadpool stuff, but nothing's really pushing the market unless you just have a super amazing cover for that week. In the past couple shows that I've done for this new segment, it seems like those 1 in 40s, those 1 in 25s, are doing really well. Especially the cover is really sought after. In the beginning of the year, we were looking at those Captain Marvel variants doing pretty well, but now I think that's cooled off a little bit since that Captain Marvel #4 that Fedora called out is still a very prevalent and wanting to be obtained comic book. Nonetheless, I do have a ratio newer book on this list that just came out last week, and it is caught fire. I don't know how sustainable that is, though, but I guess we'll just have to watch and see what happens. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the show. So first but not least, Star Wars Darth Maul, son of Dathomir. I'd put Doth just as for short, just in that room. But this is my favorite cover of Darth Maul, in all honesty. I don't know how well this grades. I've never actually held a copy in my hands. I've only seen them on walls, but it's a Dark Force or Dark Horse Star Wars series is like that started late back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Last time I checked on this book, it was $60. The only reason I checked on this book, though, was because I just got done playing the Star Wars Jedi game, and Dathomir is like one of the planets you visit. And that was probably the most irritating level out of all of them, but still a pretty great game. But it made me kind of like think about, oh, I wonder what the story would be with Star Wars Darth Maul, son of Dathomir. Um, I didn't really have time or inclination to check out what the market was showing, but so with you guys, I just want to know how it's doing. And I remember so $37 for an 8.5, $29.95 for a very fine near mint. Like when I was looking at this is like a year ago. I don't really go off pandemic prices anymore. These were going for like $60, and people were paying that much for them. Here's a Star Wars Dathomir set that's going for 1 through 4. First Darksaber, 18 hours left. So if you guys that's a pretty good deal right there, I'd say. Here's the SDCC variant, which I thought was pretty cool as well. But maybe get this book and get it signed by the man himself. At a con or anything like that, Ray Park. If you are a Darth Maul fan, a 98 went for 110. Wow, that's pretty cheap. This isn't a speculation show where like, get that on the dip or whomever. My boy Richie does those type of shows, which are really fun. They're all on Tuesdays. I'm actually going to show up tonight. So shout out to the comic spec peeps over there. So Spec Media with Richie and Aaron. So yeah, $45 for the Diamond Retailer Summit Edition. I never read this story, but I would definitely pick this up as a trade paperback. I think Darth Maul is still one of those cool evil characters that who knows? Maybe could come back and reprise the big screen again. Let's see. 158 for that diamond variant edition. This I'm gonna leave this up to like people that just are digging, just Darth Maul's always gonna have kind of one of those small kind of fan bases, and he's a Star Wars character, so he's always gonna be liquid, I would say. Not the prices that we saw back in the past, but that's still pretty healthy, I feel, for not necessarily a first appearance, but a first miniseries of a major villain in the Star Wars universe. Next we got Bone. I just kind of picked any print because the Bone one variants or the first print bones are just really hard to come by and really tough grade. I've never seen anything higher than a 9.6, and that 9.6 sold for like 5 figures, I want to say. That was a while back, but nonetheless, this is a very sought after comic book. I had a 9.6 in the 7th print way back, and I sold it for 250. It's crazy. I found that in a dollar bin box too, and those are one of those cool finds you get. But I'm not really sure what the market is for these. Way back there was potential um, you know, there was a potential option news with Netflix, and then kind of like there was stories that Netflix was just going through and getting rid of just stuff. They couldn't do it anymore. They didn't have the budget, which destroyed the spec for this book. However, I feel like it's going to be one of those like people are always going to gravitate towards Bone, the funny book. Jeff Smith, goodness, it's a short print on the first printing. As you can see here, a 5.5 goes for 900. This is a complete epic run. See, it's just hard to find really like definitive, like strong cases for like an actual sale because they just don't sell very much. There's nothing really going to push this book like higher than I think that what that 5.5 went for. It's just randomly going to come up. It's always going to be liquid. People are still going to want to buy this book. I mean, I can't even find it in a regular, in another print, let alone a first print. But yeah, there's a first cover edition right there, her hardcover. And when you're getting this book, there's an image number one. You want the OG Bone number one comic book. And again, like there's 7 million printings of this book. I haven't ever found this one. Oh, I found that one in a 7th print too. And I don't know if the later issues are worth grading so much, but I would say Bone number one. A 5th print goes for $25. I feel that's not too bad. Here's a Bone number one that's going for 1,200. I think that's a little too high. But yeah, I mean, people just do not want to sell this book. I think it's just, and again, it's just collectors going to collectors, honestly. So there you have it, Bone number one, the any print. We saw a couple of first prints. A lot of people asking for a ton of dough on those first prints. So maybe you're get lucky. I would say like if you're trying to find this book, look in one. Looking at books that I found that are children type books. You can look in those for children only sections at like either your half price books or your local comic book store, and you may be able to find like a Sonic book or a Bone book. Who knows? But yeah, there you go. Bone number one. If you're in the market for one, you're gonna pay a band at least. So good luck to you. Last of Us number one. This boomed to $1,500 based, purely on the greatness of the show. I really enjoyed the show myself. It was definitely an enjoyable watch. If you were trying to flip this book, that was the perfect time 10 years later to sell this book. The cool thing about Dark Horse is it almost has artificial rarity. Just because it's an independent retailer, it's not Image. They have a vast assortment of licensing for these movies, video games, specifically video games. That's why whenever there's like a video game comic book that comes from Dark Horse, I'm probably going to try and get the variant. I'm probably going to try and get the number one, especially if it's a pretty well-known book or video game. But I feel like this is the most successful or the last indie that really was successful. A season 2 is coming out for it. It's an HBO show. They do a really good job of not just like Netflix. I mean, fine, whatever. HBO does a really good job of just doing the weekly, Sunday, Saturday, Friday, whenever they release it. That way you get to enjoy the show throughout the week. Don't have to like binge through it. And I kind of like that format for these type of shows. The The only complaint I have is that they're not more than 10 episodes. But nonetheless, let's see what it's doing now. Let's see here. The Last of Us. Number 1. The Last of Us. Okay. So I should probably write comic book because I'm going to need a bunch of video games if I don't write comic book. So that's number 3. That is the mini comic book. 9.6 for third print for 130 asking price. That's pretty cool, but that's not book I'm looking for. Number 4 and 9.0 is going for asking. Number 4. Okay, 9.6 asking $679.99. That's quite high, but we'll look at the sold. We'll look at the sold sales here too in a second. Okay. All right, number 4. It's $200. Okay, so that's 9.6 400. Wow, that's pretty low. Perhaps you can crack that bad boy and resub it in. 9.6. So that's for number 4. 9.6 of the third print again, 203.32, and 8.5 went for 249. Oh, here we go. May 5th. So that was about 2 weeks ago. About 800. So you're about half, or maybe a little bit more than half of what this was originally going for. So again, I mean, I think people that bought this for $1,500, I was not one of them. You probably overpaid, but that's how that's how it works, man. You just have to either be patient on buying or not give in to the FOMO, even though we say yes to FOMO. And yeah, but it's good. That's good data. The nice thing I like about the potential for this book going forward is there is a universe that this HBO has established, and people want more of it. The second that people don't give a crap about zombie type shows, that's when properties like this are in trouble. You see that in horror all the time. Right now, for the past like 15 to 20 years, it's zombies are still the thing. I don't know if that's going to be like that going forward. I kind of see kind of a conversion over to vampirism and that type of world. But for now, zombies are still the thing, and people are still paying for it, just not as much as when the show originally came out. So, but that is The Last of Us, American Dreams, Dark Horse number 1, 9.6 or 9.8. You're getting about half the price of 1,500 that you paid had you bought it during the show coming out. And one of the books that came out last week that's just gone nuclear. Venom number 1, Separation Anxiety. This is the 1 in 200 gold foil variant. I don't know if it's a foil actually, but it's gold. Mr. Longshore, our homie, showed this off a couple sales. Like one was like 250, which was like, it's a 1 in 200, so I kind of get that. But another sale, which he was just baffled at, 435. I don't know if this will last. I don't know if this craziness will last with this particular book. I'm curious. It makes me want to read the story, so I may pick it up one of these days, or maybe I'll just read on the Marvel app one day. But 435 is pretty rich. I can think of a million other books I want to get for $435, whether that's based on the cover or whatever. But let's take a look and see. Number 1, Separation Anxiety, number 1 in 200. 310 that just ended yesterday. 3 bids. Oh, it's all new gold edition. I apologize. So that's that 428 sale that you saw on Saturday. I know there were a couple lists that came out and showed this book off. And if you think about it, the timing the next day, I mean, that kind of makes sense. That's a pretty big drop, though, over 2 days. I don't know if this is just like a bad listing or like, to end on Monday. That's probably not a smart move for a brand new comic book. But yeah, it's pretty insane. Well, let's see what the current market's showing. Okay. 6.5 pre-sale. It's weird. There's the 1 in 100. So this is the thing I think that's going to be tough for this book. There's the regular cover for this book. It's the same. It's just a different font. That always bugs me when you have the same cover for a ratio and it's being pawned off as like quite higher just because of the background. Now you have a little bit of variation, right, with the font, but that gives me a little bit of anxiety. So anyway, something to think about. Venom separation anxiety number 1 in 200, the gold variant. Who knows what'll happen? Another book that was kind of searching for, probably overpaid for my first copy, and yeah, it is what it is. But Shang Chi versus the Marvel Universe number 3, the first Vietnamese character in on cover and in story. I saw 98's going for $75 on this ratio book. It's super deep spec, but I feel like this Cho cover really does it justice as far as the art. It kind of like goes to old school Wolverine brown suit, and you have the cover of the character being on the cover. I think that helps out a little bit. Now, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to buy this book anymore. I'm probably past it. But for people that are specking on the Southeast Asian MCU type characters, there's not a lot out there and they're easier to find. This is one that's probably you really haven't heard of or thought about, that might be obscure, and you may be able to find like one for $20. I'm actually I wasn't going to go to eBay, but I'm actually kind of curious. I don't know a lot of people that are buying this book versus the Marvel Universe. Let's see here. Variant. Okay, so $69.95. That's a lot. $41.99. It's a Michael Cho 1 in 50. So there's not a lot of listings of this book. 25 bucks, $15.99. Wow, that's a steal back in March. Dude's probably doing the same thing I'm doing, just trying to get rid of stuff. That is crazy. Shang-Chi number 2, 1 in 50 variant. That's a pretty cool variant too. Cho did some good job, did some good work with these variants here. Yeah, I mean, just in general, you're just not going to find a ton of these. So, but yeah, back to the list. Shang-Chi versus Marvel Universe number 3, the Cho variant. 75 evidently is way too high now, so don't pay that much. And another interesting book, I would be lying if I told you I did not flip this book. I did. I remember buying a copy for like $200 and I flipped it for 600. I want to say 9.8. This to me, I'll always remember. To me, this is a start. This was the start of the pandemic fade. This was the last book that just was teased MCU, first appearance of Tosin. At one point on a Whatnot show I was watching, it went for $1,100 raw. I don't remember who had this book, but I remember they bought like 3 different copies. They sold one raw for $625, graded 9.8, sold it for $1,000, and then kept the last one. Good for you. That's how you do it on FOC type buys. I wouldn't pay more than $100 for this book in 9.8. It's a beautiful cover. That's probably the only reason I would pay that much for it. Tosin's not going to do anything. I mean, they had a great character to kind of run and kind of take away from T'Challa and all that, but they really didn't do anything with this character. I don't really see a future. The funny thing was there is some FOC shows that were saying, yeah, get the girlfriend of Tosin. Why would you get the girlfriend of Tosin? Tosin's not an established character. Like, why would you get her girlfriend? That's like saying, I don't know what that's like saying, but the insinuation was as if like Tosin's girlfriend was going to be the next Spider-Gwen, when Tosin's really nothing at this point. Such a cool character, something they could have really, done some good stuff with, but they, for whatever reason, the writer just got bored, or there was no guidance with this let's say customer, with this character. Nonetheless, people are still paying $300 for a 9.8. I think that's a huge waste of money. You might as well just take that money and burn it. But I'm not a hater on what people want to spend their money on. I just want to do that myself. But if you think you're going to flip that for 600, like, you can risk $300 on other stuff, honestly. So, but then nonetheless, Black Panther number 3, the Torian Clark variant, the start of the pandemic fade. And one of the reasons why I may ultimately one day leave collecting comic books. I mean, who knows? We are almost 20 minutes into this show. I just want to say thank you to everyone that has supported the channel, supported myself, supported Pickles, supported Fedora, and is supporting our new member of the cast every so often, Darth Lopez. Good guy. And I just, I'm loving the team. I'm loving the interaction I get with all the people that are watching the show. But if you could watch the recaps on our past shows, Keep them rolling in the background. We need some help with some hours being viewed. And if you could really do us a big favor, click that like button. Tell your friends, subscribe. I'm doing shows on video game market reports as well. It's still pretty new to me. I'm just kind of going off the stuff that I used to love as a kid. And we'll see if the channel changes towards that. But for right now, we still love comic books and we're still going to talk about them. But on to the next book. Iron Fist number 14, first appearance of Sabretooth. I know a lot of people have been talking about X-Men 97, but oddly enough, I haven't really heard anybody talking about Sabretooth first appearance of Sabretooth or Sabretooth in general. It makes sense because he's not really an enemy of the X-Men team. I remember watching the cartoon, and there's that episode where Wolverine goes to try and find Sabretooth. And man, just like their interaction as like enemies just was so cool to me. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink some water here. I really captured the essence of how wild both of them were, and kind of like the background with Sabretooth's dad and how he was abusive. I don't know, it's a really good character development for a villain. And Sabretooth straight up he's just an asshole. I mean, there's no ifs or ands or buts about it. But nonetheless, Iron Fist number 14. Last time I saw this, people were asking like $800 raw. So let's take a look at this. And I feel like this is like one of those Bronze Age specs that people always have. Okay, well, 9.21 for $799. That's pretty good. No one cares about the first appearance of Iron Fist. I'm sorry. Or maybe some people do, but not necessarily me. That's a milestone? Huh. I don't think I get that version. 5.51 for $239. Not mad at it. Wow, 9.8 went for 3,551. That's pretty cool. I'm not basing this off of Sabretooth ever coming to the MCU. I'm just strictly basing this off of Sabretooth being a cool cat. People wanted his book. So that's pretty cool. 6.5, and it says original owner. Now, if you believe that, I would definitely press this book for sure. 9.2 goes for 750. Not bad. That's investment grade price for sure. So yeah, I'm happy with that. That's a good price for a character that we haven't seen on the show or rumors of in a long time. So yeah, and $800 raw for a near mint. I guess that's a little high, but that 3K 9.8 from a couple weeks ago, I mean, that tells you the market's still pretty strong for this book. I wouldn't get a 9.8. I'd probably go for a 9.2 and maybe offer $700 for it if I was thinking investment wise. Perhaps like upgrade that bad boy or get it autographed. But yeah, Iron Fist number 14, first appearance of Sabretooth. This is like one of my favorites from the childhood and then brought back up through the pandemic. Blade number 1, the Bart Sears variant. This is like a ratio when they weren't really doing ratios. People still want $100 for this raw book. It is incredibly tough to get in high grade because of that white cover. And I don't want to necessarily invest in this book. I'm kind of over the Blade spec now. There's just too much just back and forth. I think, well, actually, I take that back. If you guys haven't read Blood Hunt, it makes me kind of excited for Blade again. But nonetheless, people still want $100 for this. It's incredibly tough and high grade. But what's the market saying? Let's just take a look. All right, Blade. And it's the Bart Sears variant, peeps. So, one Bart Sears. Wow, that is a lot of money for that book. I forgot there's a half version of this. Okay, well, let's see. Let's see who highest listed. Man, that guy still wants that. Wants a 1 of 10. I didn't know that census count was 1 of 10. See, people want a lot of money for that book. Let's see the solds. And again, I'm looking for the Bart Sears number 1 variant edition. 9.2. Bart Sears in March 23. That's still a lot. 4 bids for this guy. $75. That's not bad. And nothing really past that. So So yeah, nothing really to talk about with this book. It's just something that I remember from the pandemic days and from my childhood days. I think the cover's pretty cool. It'd be nice to get an autograph by Bart Sears and put it away for a while, or just have it kind of presented. But nonetheless, Blade number one, Bart Sears variant, and yeah, good luck. And on to our next book. I had to put in there Sock 98. There's a raw newsstand going for 5.0, or a 5.0 newsstand going for like $300. It's on my watch list. I love this book, Sonic 98. It's trashed, but nonetheless, people want 375 for a very fine newsstand copy, 8.0 for, I don't think that's a newsstand. I think that's just a regular direct Dreamcast, Archie Dreamcast. That's cool. 350. Yeah, people want a lot of money for this book. I haven't seen a lot of newsstand. Let's see. I haven't seen a lot of newsstand listings for this book. Huh. Okay, let's see. Let's see what listings we have out here. Wow, newsstand going for $1,000 and 9.0. This guy wants $1,000 for a newsstand. There's a one 380 and 6.0, 55 for 330. It's just that's so much money for a 5.5. It's really tough to determine whether that's a good flip or not. But yeah, first appearance of Shadow. Very low print run because it's that later half of like the comic book, right? But nonetheless, if you want a newsstand, you're gonna have to pay quite a bit of money for that guy. So yeah, and I've talked about that book as nauseum. You guys all know how much I love that book. Next on the list, Star Wars number 41, the first appearance, first cover, I guess, of the Millennium Falcon. Kind of an ode to the Empire Strikes Back movie. Pretty amazing cover. I like how they have the Imperial Star Destroyer in the background with the TIE fighters, and you know, the Millennium Falcon really takes like the front cover of this book. It's a beautiful book. Um, I have this myself, and I'm actually going to sell it because I want to upgrade my copy. But let's take a look at what the market's showing here. Star Wars 41 CGC. Okay. 259 for a 9.8, 350 for a 9.8. Okay. 9.6 asking for 100. All right, what's a 9.4 going for? Because that's what I got. 5.0 is going for $55. So hopefully I get more than $55 for it. 9.4, $79.99. That's a pretty big jump from, what was it? 55. Okay. And that was a couple of days ago. $70 for 9.4, 9.4, 64.43. Wow. There's no love for this book. Oh, 98, 224 for this book. 320. Not bad. This guy probably should have opted for an auction versus the buy it now. Buck and a quarter for buck and a quarter for a 9.6. That's a pretty big drop too. Again, 9.8 goes for 259. This is a couple weeks ago, and 115 goes for a 9.6. Yeah, so nothing really too crazy about Star Wars number 41. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory what the significance of this book is, but I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair as far as what the market says about this. They don't treat it as like a key like character, but everybody knows what the Millennium Falcon is. Even if you are not a huge Star Wars fan. The Walking Dead number one. This is the last comic book I'm going to talk about today. This to me is like the indie modern grail. When I say modern, I think 2000 and above. I remember picking this book up or the trade paperback the first time, and I was like, wow. Oops, sorry about that. This is crazy. This comic book is like really good writing. And I just kind of sat and read it. And I really got like goosies, and I just got really like into the trade paperback. Like, I don't think I've read a trade paperback kind of in that style before. Um, but a while back, I was looking at 9.8s. They're going for around 2,800 to 3K, which is fairly low, I feel like, because it is a modern day Grail, in my opinion, and the fact that this probably wasn't kept in the best of condition because it was read so much. Um, it just surprises me. I don't know, perhaps the fact that there's so many reprints of this book, that's maybe perhaps had a negative impact on the price. Okay, Walking Dead 1 through 193. See, this is a couple months ago. That must have been the same sale I saw. So 2,600 to 2,800 to, here's one, March 10th, 2,560. Um, I just feel like it's a great deal. I'd rather get this. It's not gonna go up a ton. So I think if you're thinking about selling, you're gonna have to wait. You just have to be a fan of this book. But nonetheless, that's a 9.8. It's going for almost 3 grand. So that's pretty healthy. I wonder what the buy-in with these guys bought this book at. Cause it just makes me kind of curious of that. But anyway, not a ton of comic books today. Actually, I did a lot more than I did last time. A very random array of comic books. But yeah, only a half hour today. I didn't want to go too crazy, and I wanted for people to watch the show and give their take and just kind of look into what I had to report today. Again, if you aren't liking this show, please like the show, click that like button, subscribe, tell all your friends. I'll try and do more giveaways. We got a show on on Sunday coming up with the 4 people that I've been doing show with lately. And I hope you guys all have a great day, a great week. I'll see you on Thursday, hopefully, or maybe Friday with a video game market report. Take care.